Right then, we'll make a start, if I may. I'm Stuart Hartley. I'm a senior consultant of international management consultancy company called Angle, and I'll be delivering these sessions as they move forwards. This is the first one of 7 or 8 that will be covering the whole academic year, and they will take you through predominantly the whole journey that you may face if you're planning to start a business. Today we're going to start that journey. Today we're going to look at where good ideas come from and what makes a good idea. The slides are not available to hand out. It's a new policy of not wasting paper, but if you do want the slides, we will, or the CEO team will email them across to you. So if you don't want to make copious notes, we will, or they will email the slides to you. So today we're just going to talk about where good ideas come from, and that in effect is another phrase for something called innovation. And we're not going to get into the true depths of innovation because that's an art in itself. But some of these, well, all of these people on the screen are well-known innovators. We'll start then with who are they? Yeah, okay, someone's picked up the easy one. James Dyson, yes. So we've got Steve Jobs and James Dyson. There's a third easy one. This gentleman here. He's the guy that started Wikipedia, a guy called Jimmy Wales. This gentleman here. And if you drive a car, how do you know whether you're going in the right direction or not? Whether you're in the right lane or not? Cat's eyes. It's the person that invented the cat's eyes, a chap called Percy Shaw, many years ago. The two that you'll never get, a woman called Stephanie Kwolek and a woman called Mary Anderson. Stephanie Kwolek invented Kevlar. So Kevlar oven gloves, obviously, but also used in body armour for the military. And Mary Anderson, going back to cars, invented windshield wipers, as she called them. We know them as windscreen wipers. So, oh, and the last one, sorry, these chaps. Bit of my favourite topic, this. They changed the world of wine tremendously. No? Chap called Ernest and Julio. Come on, you're all old enough to drink. Don't tell me you don't drink wine. Ernest and Julio Gallo. And they broke the way that they completely disrupted the way that wine was sold. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. What's the odd one out? Anyone know who the odd one out is? Probably not, since you don't know who they all are. This chap here. Never made a single penny from his invention. Never made a single penny from his idea. If he'd have been paid 1 penny, just 1 penny, for every one of the cat's eyes used in this world, he would be the world's richest man by a long way. Long, long way. But he didn't receive a penny. There's a lesson in terms of intellectual property for that, but I won't go into that. So where did these guys get their ideas from? And how did they find out whether they'll stand up, whether they'll work, and how did they go about evaluating them? And they're pretty much the 3 things we're going to talk about today. So some of you will be creatives. I know some of you are creatives because I've seen some of you in the past. And creativity is simply defined as bringing into existence an idea that is new to you. Not new to the world, but new to you. Innovation is the practical application of these ideas. So you can be as wonderfully creative as possible, but actually to be truly innovative, you've got to try and find a practical application for these ideas. You look on, it's a bit of a geeky thing to do, but if you look on the patent database, and there are such things, there are some wonderfully crazy ideas out there that I don't know why people have actually protected under patent, but they're certainly not commercially viable, so I wouldn't class them as innovators. I'd certainly class them as creatives, but certainly not innovators. And then creative thinking is an innate talent one is born with and a set of skills that can be learned, developed and utilised in daily problem solving. That's where I want all of you to be. That's where good entrepreneurs are. That's where good business owners are. So what is technically innovation? Well, innovation is not purely invention. Innovation is not purely creativity. Invention is a creative idea, but innovation makes it work. So, as I said before, innovation is the practical application of the creativity that you're all producing. Innovation doesn't necessarily mean just new products or services. I do a lot of work on people trying to look at new processes, something called business process re-engineering. It could be looking at new markets. So some of you could already be in business, selling a particular product, but innovation could lead you to sell that particular product in a different way or to a different market. And innovation is always original. That's not necessarily correct. New ideas have roots and points of pain, but it's the combination of these new ideas and adaptation which is original. So what we often find is something called step change. So we will improve something that is already out there. So it doesn't have to be original. It just has to be an improvement. And the most important thing, there must be a need for it. There must be a market for your idea. And what do I mean by market? People must want to buy it. And if they don't want to buy it now, how can you convince them to buy it? And that's something called disruptive innovation. So, don't believe the experts. Some funny little quotes that I found. Talking about the telephone, that's an amazing invention, but who would ever want to use one of them? I think we're in a little bit of a different place now. Television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months. People will soon get tired of staring into a box every night. Bit of a problem with that one. The horse is here to stay, but the automobile is a novelty and a fad. Bit of a problem with that one as well. And actually, this was advising Henry Ford's lawyer not to invest in Ford Motor. So the lawyer was actually not investing. He disregarded his advice. He invested $5,000, which he sold several years later for $12.5 million. And in kind of that time, $12.5 million would have been quite a significant chunk of money. I guess it is now. And then IBM really messing up. There is a world market for about 5 computers. Technically, most of you have got a computer in your pocket now. So I think he messed up there. There's a bit of a more modern case to that, and that is Kodak. You're all aware of Kodak, the company? Cameras. Kodak were the first people that invented the digital camera, and they did that in the 1980s. But at the time, Kodak were market leaders in film. Most of you were probably not old enough to know what that is. It's a little roll of things that you used to have to send off to Boots to get printed. Cameras don't do that now, obviously. So Kodak were the leading sellers of this film. They were famous for it. And when the R&D chaps came in and told the board that they'd invented this camera that didn't need film, the board just went, no, you're going to kill our business. We're not going to go any further with it. 30 years on, 40 years on, it killed their business. Kodak are now no longer in existence because they had some market-leading innovation that they refused. They didn't think was a good idea. They were never able to keep up since. So where do your ideas come from? Well, we're not all innovators. We're not all James Dysons. We're not all Mary Andersons. So we're not going to be potentially inventing new things. So, let's scale it down a little bit now. What are you good at? Most of you will have a talent in something. Actually, can you make money from that talent? Let's keep it ethical and moral. Can you make money from that talent that you have? Or more importantly, what do you enjoy doing? And again, let's keep it clean, ethical and moral. Can you make money from that? The biggest thing, the most prominent bit of advice I will tell you if any of you are thinking about starting a business is do something you enjoy doing. Start a business you enjoy in something that you enjoy doing. If you don't like it, or if it's a bit, I'm not sure, when it gets tough, and starting a business does get tough at times, you'll just stop. So you'll have wasted all that effort. If you do it in something you genuinely enjoy, you'll want to keep the momentum. You'll want to keep motivation. It helps you. So, one bit of advice for today. Do something you enjoy doing. So technically, where do ideas come from? Well, ideas come from customers. If you've already got customers, great. If you haven't, ideas come from asking people. And generally, it's all about unmet needs. So have you ever looked for something that doesn't actually exist or you can't find? So you've looked, being seasonal, coming up to Christmas. I hate saying that word in October. But coming up to Christmas, is there a particular present that you want to buy someone that you're really having trouble finding? Can you not, does it exist even? That's an unmet need. If you can't find something, either you're being daft or it's not widely available. And if it's not widely available, it might need to be. That leads us on to a gap in the market. Is there a genuine gap in the market for what you're doing? Are people readily doing it already? And if they are readily doing it, are you going to perhaps do something different, something unique, something that's bespoke, something that will be valued? Again, I stress that word value. You'll hear me say that a lot if you come to the rest of these. Are you utilising new technology? New technology brings about all sorts of ideas for us. New technology has changed the way that we do things, mostly even in the last 5 or 6 years. So traditional marketing has just dropped like a stone, and we spend more time now on electronic marketing, social media, digital marketing, because technology allows us to do that. We can look at things in terms of performance failures. Is something genuinely working? Have you bought something and it's failed? It hasn't performed the way you want it to. If it has failed, why has it failed? Can you adapt that in order to make it right and then sell it on? You may get new insights and new ideas. Often, a lot of these things are done over a pint in the pub. Oh, beer mat moments. I should have done that. A couple of pints, a couple of G&Ts. All of a sudden, you get this brainwave of something that you want to start a business in. And actually, some things come around in terms of cost and efficiency. So things are developed in order to save money or to save time. So I've already kind of hinted towards this. Technically, if we're going to look at innovation, if we're going to look at new ideas, there are technically 2 types. One is radical innovation, otherwise known as disruptive. So it disrupts the existing market. It changes how the market exists at the moment and what the market is doing. And generally, you have to push your products onto people. So when the iPhone came out, which really did disrupt the market, Apple had to push it onto people. Now, when the new iPhone comes out, the 6, which came out a few weeks ago, Apple don't need to push it onto people. People are pulled towards it. So with disruptive innovation or radical innovation, we have to do a lot of marketing in order to convince people that they need this new product or service. And actually, these are 2 good examples of that. They're both Dysons. So you'll probably recognise that one, which is a Dyson vacuum cleaner. Be careful, I'm not saying Dyson Hoover. Hoover is a brand make and not a Dyson. So you'll know that one worked. You won't necessarily know that one. And that one's a dual drum washing machine. So a dual drum washing machine simply has, as it kind of demonstrates up there, 2 drums. So a traditional washing machine just has 1 drum, goes round and round, yeah? Well, the Dyson washing machine had 2 drums, but they went in opposite directions in order, they claimed, to wash your clothes quicker and more efficiently. Just didn't take off. Partially, I would imagine, for the purple colour. I don't know, it's not personal preference. I can't imagine a purple washing machine in my kitchen, if I'm honest. But it didn't work. It was pushed onto people and they didn't accept it. The Dyson was pushed onto people, the Dyson vacuum cleaner was pushed onto people and they accept it. There's another great example of Dyson in this building. Thank you, the blade hand dryers. Again, something that's really taken off. The other thing is step change or incremental change, and it is just genuinely continual improvements on existing products. So the Mark 1 Golf, all the way down to the most recent version of the Volkswagen Golf. And all it is incremental innovation. They've just made slight changes each time. They've made additions each time to make the car feel more valuable, to offer more value to you as a potential buyer. And we can do that with anything. There are great examples in IT in terms of PlayStation, Xbox. They've gone through incremental innovation while they've been around. And even dishwasher tablets. Dishwasher tablets is a little bit of an out there example, but when I first had a dishwasher, all dishwasher tablets did was clean your dishes. Now they seem to clean the dishes, clean the dishwasher, make the dishes sparkle, protect them and all sorts. It's all incremental innovation. Taking things on a cynical perspective, there's no whiteboard or anything here, is there? Take things from a cynical perspective, there's something called the product life cycle, which is a little bit like a hockey stick curve. So if you can imagine a hockey stick, drops, goes all the way up quite sharply, tends to dip off a little bit, and then drops off gradually. Well, that's the product life cycle. So starts at the bottom, not many people buying the product over time. So it starts, time comes on, time's increased, the number of people buying the products increases, and then it starts to plateau. So no more extra people are buying the product. And at this point, companies often refresh their products. They provide incremental innovation. So the product life cycle stops from dipping. It goes up again and continues to go up. And that's all Apple are doing. Whenever they bring out a new iPhone, all they're doing is stopping their product from dying, their product from dropping off. So it's called the product life cycle. If any of you want to look it up from academic perspective. Just to prove that we don't have to look at things from a product basis, or we don't have to look at things from an incremental or radical innovation, we can look at something as simple as packaging. Now, I thought these were wonderful. These are actually just headphones. And this is how they're packaged. This is how you buy them. But what a great shop display. They just look like musical notes. Love it. Love the innovation in that. Love the innovation in hanger tea. So the tea bags are actually displayed with their own little hangers and are actually little t-shirts. Again, we're being creative, we're being innovative. We're trying to extend and find a niche for our brand. How on earth are you going to differentiate, make your tea different from others? Tea is tea is tea. Although don't tell my wife that. She's a bit of a connoisseur. How else do you differentiate? Yeah, okay, you can differentiate from flavour, English breakfast, Darjeeling, whatever. But actually, no, let's be fun with it. Let's be creative with it. But remember, if we're being creative, we need to have a market for it. People need to want to buy it. Or it needs to be able to get into practice. So we need to have a practical application from it. And that's what they've done. I love it. How else do you sell a paintbrush? All these are is paintbrushes, but packaged differently. And this one's just brilliant. Genuine product that's out there, I promise you. You can Google it. But it's a Parmesan pencil. So it's a pencil that you get with its own little sharpener, or you can use your common or garden pencil sharpener at home, and it will shave, just like a pencil would. So when you sharpen your pencil, so to speak, out comes freshly shaved Parmesan cheese. Brilliant. Creative. How else do you sell Parmesan? Origami beer. Don't really fancy doing this after a few bottles, and actually I don't think I'd be able to do it anyway. But it's fun. Instead of just playing in a bar, ripping the labels off or whatever people do, let's make nice little flowers from them. And finally, I would, as I've talked a lot, I do bow at the Church of Apple quite a lot in terms of innovation. But I would suggest that one of the leaders in innovation still in the world is Apple, both in terms of design, the look and feel of their products, but also the technology behind it. So they've gone from these dreadful grey boxes through to the first Macintosh computer, which incidentally I did my degree, dissertations on, so that's how old I am. To the iMac in '98, which I still see being used in various design houses. They love the fact that it's becoming quite iconic now. The iPod, which completely changed the way that we listen to music. The iPhone completely changed our lives, potentially. And then the iPad. And it's all gone through over the period of years, and who knows what's going to come next. We know that the smartwatch is on its way, the iWatch. Google are looking at Google Glasses. So the thing that they claim next is going to be wearable technology, as it's known. So if we haven't still found an idea, let's look at opportunities in the bigger picture. We can look at it using PESTLE. So political, economic, social, cultural, technological, environmental and legal. And what we're doing is, posh word, horizon scanning. That's all we're doing. We're looking out in the horizon and seeing what's going to change in any one of these areas that could provide us an opportunity to start a business. A great example of which happened a good few years ago now, but the government changed the laws on smoking in public. So pubs all of a sudden overnight went, I'm going to lose all my trade. Let's build a gazebo outside and put out loads of outdoor heaters. So what a better time to be in the outdoor heater market and the gazebo market, because the government have just given us a permission to write our own checks. So what else is coming up that you can really take advantage of? So can you look into the future a little bit, crystal ball, and say, well, actually, there's going to be changes in this, 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 and this. That could create an opportunity for me. One of the biggest and most obvious ones is in environmental. So the government are looking constantly at how we can stop putting so much waste into landfill. So there are a lot of materials recovery businesses being set up. So businesses that are looking at specialist recycling and buying the commodities of metal and glass and things. Technology allows us all sorts of opportunities. And then what can we see? What can we see in your area? What can you see that's going to happen? That said, you don't have to be imaginative. You don't have to think of the weirdest, most wonderful thing and hope that people will buy it. It doesn't have to be unique. And technically, it doesn't even have to be different. If you buy a paperclip, it doesn't matter who makes that paperclip, you'll buy that paperclip. So actually, is a paperclip different from any other? No. Is it imaginative? Not really. Is it unique? Certainly not. But there's nothing wrong with you going into business selling paperclips. You've just got to differentiate, be different in another way. That might be price, that might be quality, that might be delivery times. Or, as we've seen from other examples, hanger tea, for instance, that might just be simply the way that we package them. So there's nothing wrong with delivering something that already exists. What we need to do, though, is consider a unique selling proposition. Why would I buy off you rather than everyone else that's out there? But also, something that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's something called a customer value proposition, a CVP. It's all very well as having a unique selling proposition. So my unique selling proposition for a paperclip is that they're going to be, they are biodegradable. So if I drop them, put them in the waste, they will biodegrade. Actually though, do people want that? Are people going to value that as a proposition for paper clips? Probably not. So does it pass the CVP test? I can create a training shoe, a trainer, that plays the Crazy Frog theme tune every time I put my foot down. But actually, will anyone want that? Probably not. So it won't pass the CVP test. So be unique by all means, but actually be unique in a way that people will value. Go back to the old phrase of, it's as useful as a chocolate teapot, which incidentally I understand some academics in a university somewhere have proved wrong, by the way, because you can make tea in a teapot. It was on BBC, genuinely. They made a cup of tea using a chocolate teapot, promise you. They said it had a bit of a chocolatey taste. Surprise, surprise. But it did stay in its shape with boiling water on it. So will it work? How do we evaluate our ideas? Well, actually, the first question is, who are our potential customers? Do we know who our potential customers are? Because actually, whatever we're doing in business, whether it's starting this journey now or running an existing business, customers need to be at the heart of that business. Customers need to be at the heart of anything that changes. Because if they're not going to come to you. They're not going to come back to you. So it's really important to know who are your potential customers before you start your journey. You've got this idea, you've had a couple of pints in the pub, written down a few notes on it, on a beer mat, and then you look at it in the cold light of day and you think, great idea, but who could I sell it to? And as soon as you know who you can sell it to, you can start shaping that product, start shaping that service in accordance with what they will need. People don't buy, genuinely, people do not buy products or services. They buy a solution to a problem. They buy a solution to a pain. They buy a solution to something called a capability gap. So if you're selling business to business, so you as a business starting up and selling to another business, businesses will traditionally buy your services because they have a capability gap. I'm here because DMU have a capability gap in this area. That's not actually technically true in terms of knowledge, but it's certainly in terms of time. It's the only reason I'm here. So when I sell into people, I sell about what their pain might be or what their pain is. So it's important that we know who our customers are, because then we can shape our idea in accordance with the problems or pains or capability gaps that they may have. Because if you can fill one of those, they will buy your product, no matter what. We need to do a little bit of evaluation on what else is already out there in the market. So we need to understand what is going on with our potential competition. And we need to reflect on that not only with direct competition, but something called indirect competition. And I'll talk more about this in later sessions, and in fact, I think it's the next one. So we need to understand what else is out there. And we do that for many reasons, but probably one of the most important is price. How can you start a business selling an item or selling a service without first knowing how much your competitors are selling that for? How do you know how to price it? Unless you know what the market will accept, what customers will pay, and what your competitors are charging. It's impossible to do. So it's really important that we know what else is going on there, what else is out there. And again, we can shape our products or services at an early stage in accordance to the weaknesses that our rival products or services have. So we're using our strengths to really go at their weaknesses. How and where will your customers purchase the product? Now be careful here, because I've known quite a few business ideas that have fallen down on this point. There was two businesses start, and some of you may have heard this already from me. Two businesses start about 7 years ago now from students, recent graduates of DMU. One business turned out to be really successful and was nominated for a national award, and the other business closed down. Both businesses had a problem with this. One was a female shoe retailer, and the other one was a bespoke tailor for gentlemen's suits. The one that worked, can you guess? The shoes. Okay, there was a few murmurs, that's correct. Why? Because it was a lot easier to work round the problem of how and where they'll buy it. Both were internet businesses. I should have said that, really. No one, I tried it. I tried to buy a suit from these guys, and you had to measure yourself, put your measurements in online, and then 3 weeks later out came a bespoke tailored suit for you for half the price than it would be at Savile Row, etc. And I tried it, and actually it didn't fit. I'm not a tailor. I don't know how the hell to measure myself. I wouldn't know where to start. And so we went and we moved on, and we offered YouTube instructions and all sorts. And it still didn't work because no one would trust themselves to measure themselves correctly. It wouldn't work. It didn't work based on where you will purchase the product. The shoes, however, the problem there, fit, well actually, sorry, being stereotypical, quite a few ladies are known to wear shoes that don't necessarily fit anyway. Quite a few ladies are known to wear shoes that aren't exactly comfortable. So we got over that, and we got over that quite easily. What we didn't get over, and what they still struggle with, is quality. How can we demonstrate the quality of the shoes online? You can't touch and feel them, feel the weight of the heel, feel how comfortable the leather is, how soft the leather is. So that was really quite difficult. But they overcame quite a few of the barriers that were associated with where they will buy their product. So just be careful. Yes, m-commerce and e-commerce are really popular now, but they don't suit everything. Walk around the high street after this and see how many nail and beauty salons there are and how many tattooists there are. Why? Because they are services you cannot buy online. No matter what, you cannot buy a tattoo online. No matter what, you cannot buy painted nails online. Yes, for the smart asses, you can buy fake ones that you stick on yourself. But if you want bespoke designs, you can't have them done online. So there are some businesses that will work online. There are some businesses that won't. Being online is not a magic bullet for making it work. Think about what point of pain it will solve. Think about what problem people are trying to address and why they are buying your product. And then actually you want to find out what's different about it. And this reverts back to what's similar or unique. So the next steps, well, we're going to talk about a little bit about that in future sessions. Market research is particularly one that we will talk about. When we're starting our journey, we need to consider what business type to form. And again, that will be a future session. But there are a few different types you can in this country that you can start. So the three most common are a sole trader, which is commonly known as a freelancer or self-employed. Partnership, which is where two or more people get together under the same business name, but technically they're self-employed. So they come together as self-employed to form one company, and that's technically a partnership. And then the other one, which most of you will be aware of, is a standard limited company. And that is pretty much the majority of businesses around, a limited company. We'll talk through those as options though. Business planning. Well, I'm going to be a little bit controversial, and I know in future sessions I'm going to do a session on business planning. But for most of you, you don't need a business plan. For the majority of you, you won't need a business plan. Business plans are a red herring. Business plans are an awful exercise to do unless they've got an end in sight, unless there's a requirement to do so. And for me, the only requirement to do a business plan is to get funding. And that's either grant funding, so public sector money that you don't need to give back, a bank loan, business angel finance, venture capital finance, Dragon's Den, that sort of thing. Yes, you won't go to Dragon's Den unless you've got a business plan. But actually, how many of you actually want to go through a funding application or a finance application? Well, some of you won't need to. So why write a business plan? You don't need to. There are certain things I would advise you to do within the business planning area. So some aspects of business planning are really useful. So knowing what you want to do, setting out a strategy, setting out a journey that your business is going to take is great. It helps you focus your ideas. Some of you will have lots of ideas floating around in your mind, and business planning can actually help you get those out of your mind onto paper and actually working. For others, it's just a pointless exercise. And I know I'm not selling future business planning sessions very well, but that's my honest opinion, and I'm more than happy to teach you how to business plan if you need that. And then financial planning. Probably one of the key things for me is I've seen so many businesses start and then fail because they run out of cash before they're selling. They haven't realised quite how long it's going to take them from point A, my business idea now, to point B, selling and making good money from it. So you need to have a conservative think about how the business is going to pan out financially. Where is your funding coming from whilst money is not coming through the door? Have you got a part-time job to fall back on? Have you got a full-time job to fall back on? Because actually by starting a business, chances are most of you will not make money in the first year, or not make enough money in the first year to make it worthwhile. Reality check, I'm afraid, but it's true. Unless you've got a holy grail and you're really good at business, chances are you will not make enough money to live on, certainly within the first year. So plan it. Plan what you're going to do. Plan how you're going to fill that gap. And again, we'll talk through that in future sessions. So just finally then, a few top tips. I have 10, I think. Become a problem solver. Go around in life thinking, actually, if that could just do that, that would be really good. That would make it so much better. Identify needs, look for niches, look for gaps in the market that you could fill. Talk through possible solutions with people. Be careful. If they're groundbreaking, we need to reflect upon IP, intellectual property. And we're not giving the family jewels away, so to speak, to everyone. Some problems have got multiple solutions, and actually that could turn into multiple business opportunities. So be a problem solver, because if you're a problem solver, you're going to make money. Think outside the box. One of the phrases I hate in business is, we've always done it that way. It's always been done in that way. Why has it always been done in that way? I want to challenge that. Can it be different? Can it change? Can it improve? Tunnel vision creates that. Having the ability to think and think more laterally, opening your mind to other possibilities, talking through these possibilities with other people is a really good opportunity to find new ideas. Be willing to take risks. If first an idea doesn't seem totally absurd, then there's no hope for it. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that statement, but it is quite a famous statement. So be willing to take a risk. Be willing to lose money, because starting a business isn't easy and it's not guaranteed. It's a bit like buying and selling shares. Might look like a great opportunity to make money, but actually in all realism, it doesn't actually work for most people. Build your confidence. Starting a business can be very, very good at knocking your confidence. So be positive. Stick to your principles. One of the big things I see all the time in businesses is this perfectionism. our products have to be perfect before we get them out. No. You're seeing it from your own eyes. You're looking at your product or service through a microscope. Chances are your customers won't do that. And they would prefer to have something to buy than something that's absolutely polished to the nth degree. Take a risk. Be confident in your own products and services. If you can't be confident in your products or services, no one else is going to be. I never watched Dragon's Den, but there was one thing that I remember from it, and I watched one episode. And it was someone that was making something wearable. And one of the dragons immediately said, "Why aren't you wearing it? If you're not happy to wear it, why am I going to invest in it?" So any of you that are designing, making things, I'm seeing one of my clients is they make bags. And the biggest comment I make to her, the first comment I make to her, she didn't make this one. You know what a bag is, I don't know why I'm demonstrating. She makes bags. And the first comment I say to her every time is, "Why aren't you using your own bags? If you've not got the confidence to use your own bags, why am I going to buy one?" So if she goes into a meeting with, I don't know, John Lewis, to try and sell them to John Lewis, what's it going to look like when she's not using her own bag? Awful. So anyway, be confident about your product. Think smart, move fast. Again, opportunities can just pass you by because you've dwelled on them too long. You've procrastinated for far too long over it. And all of a sudden, the next time you look, whether that idea is out there or not, it's done. And you've missed the boat. And I'm sure if you read Branson's autobiography or any of the famous dragons or whatever, they will probably quote how many opportunities they've let pass them by. Think smart, move fast, get it to market quickly. Propose solutions. Pitch ideas. Pitch solutions to problems. Pitch concepts, prototypes. Going back to the car world, every time there's a motor show, there's a concept car on offer. That's not actually ever going to go into production, but what it does do is show off their talents, show off what is possible, show off what we can do. So for all of you making things, why not make something that's completely out there, completely creative, completely impractical, but it actually shows off your creativity, it shows your power of thought. It's creating a concept. That's all that car manufacturers do. Listen and learn. Creative process is an ongoing exercise. Once you understand the relationships and harmonies between each customer, each supplier, everything, you can play with new insight. You can play in business with new insight. So listen to your customers, listen to future customers, potential consumers. Learn from them, learn what they want. Learn from your competitors. Listen to what they're doing. And in terms of listen, you don't necessarily technically need to listen, but you can read. Read what they're doing. Read up all the time about what your competitor's doing. What are their next moves? You can learn a lot from that sort of thing. One that I'm particularly keen on in terms of if you're doing services. So if you're offering a service, if you're planning to be a graphic designer, a management consultant, or whatever it might be an expert. Show that you're an expert. And this is where the power of things like Twitter and LinkedIn, WordPress, and all those other blog opportunities come in. Show that you're a thought leader. Demonstrate thought leadership in everything that you do. Show that you know what's going on. Offer opinion on other people's blogs, other people's LinkedIn posts. Show that you are genuinely knowledgeable in the area that you're going into. People, you cannot separate a service from the delivery. So you didn't know how good or bad today's session was going to be without you first attending. How else do you get over that if you're starting a business? Well, you provide thought leadership. People gain confidence in your knowledge by reading your blogs, by reading your comments, because they feel that they know, they feel you know what you're doing. So become an expert. Share your vision. Talk to people about it. Talk to people about where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to achieve. Be passionate. The worst thing you can do is keep your business idea to yourself, providing you've dealt with the IP issues. Don't start telling the world until you're sure that there is nothing that people are going to pinch. But share your vision. Take a lesson from Steve Jobs there. He was probably one of the most eloquent visionaries in business. He got people to share his vision about Apple, his vision about technology, his vision about the future. Go on and look at YouTube in terms of some of the TED Talks, TED Talks, and some of them are really inspiring and really visionary. You've got to do the same. You've got to share people's passion. That's me. Thank you to everyone. If you can fill in your feedback sheets, that would be very much appreciated. But that's it for today. Thank you.